The psychology of the ignored child, not abused, not yelled at, just not noticed. And that silence, it doesn't fade with age, it moves in. Have you ever walked into a room and felt invisible, even when people were looking right at you? That's not shyness, that's psychology. Today, let's talk about what really happens when a child grows up ignored and why it quietly shapes how adults think, love, work, and doubt themselves every single day. 1. The psychology of being invisible. Ignored children don't think I'm unimportant. They think something worse. I don't exist unless I'm useful. In daily life, this shows up as over-explaining simple things, apologizing for asking questions, feeling guilty for needing help. Here's the scary part. When a child isn't acknowledged, their brain doesn't register absence, it registers rejection, and the brain remembers rejection longer than pain. You can survive without attention, but you can't grow without it. 2. The pain of never being the first choice. Let me ask you something uncomfortable. Growing up, did you ever feel like you were never the priority? Not the loudest kid, not the favorite, not the one adults stopped to listen to. Ignored children grow into adults who expect to come second. At work, in friendships, in love, they settle, not because they want less, but because they don't believe more will choose them. Being overlooked teaches you to overlook yourself. 3. The micro story. This is where it begins. Picture this. An 8-year-old boy runs home from school holding a paper, a drawing he worked on all day. He says, "Look what I made." His mom nods, eyes still on her phone. Later, never comes. That moment doesn't feel dramatic. No tears, no shouting, just quiet disappointment. Now repeat that moment hundreds of times. Fast forward 20 years. That same child becomes an adult who downplays achievements, hates attention, feels awkward being praised. Why? Because excitement once had nowhere to land. Ignored children don't stop feeling, they stop sharing. 4. The psychology of over-independence. Here's where people get confused. Ignored children often grow up to be extremely independent, responsible, strong, but strength wasn't a choice, it was a necessity. They learned early, if I don't rely on anyone, I won't be disappointed. In daily routine, this looks like I'll handle it myself, avoiding vulnerability, feeling uncomfortable when someone offers help. Independence born from neglect feels powerful, but it's lonely. 5. Why ignored children become deep feelers. Here's the paradox. Ignored children often become emotionally intelligent adults. They read the room, they sense tension, they notice what others miss. Why? Because growing up, their safety depended on observation. They learned when it was safe to speak and when silence was smarter. But there's a cost. They feel everyone else deeply and themselves quietly. When you grow up unseen, you become an expert at seeing others. 6. Healing the ignored child. This is the shift. Healing doesn't start with confidence. It starts with permission. Permission to take up space, celebrate wins, say I need this without guilt. The ignored child heals when the adult finally says, what I felt mattered, even if no one noticed. Every time you speak up and aren't dismissed, your brain rewires. Every time your boundary is respected, your nervous system learns safety. Acknowledgement is not attention, it's oxygen. Let me ask you something. And be honest. As a child, did you feel ignored or did you learn to ignore yourself? Drop your answer in the comments. Someone reading it might finally feel seen. If this video put words to something you've felt but never explained, hit subscribe. Not for content, for clarity, because understanding your psychology doesn't weaken you, it frees you. And remember this, you weren't invisible, you were just waiting for someone, including yourself, to finally look.